what trends are you hot on in the e-com space? I feel like you sit at this very interesting vantage point where you have the newsletter experience with your brother, really
Yeah.
like going deep dives on companies, and then also starting your own product. It's like, what do you see happening the next few years? Because it's a dynamic space, changing all the time.
Yeah, I think one big thing is that the major platforms are only going to get bigger. So I think, you know, Meta, Google, TikTok, those platforms are only going to get larger and more powerful. And I think their core businesses are only going to get stronger. Like Meta's ad product, 2 years ago, people were talking about, is Meta dead? Is TikTok overtaking Meta? And I can tell you that that's not the case from an ads perspective. And I think over time, we're seeing, even from an engagement perspective, how resilient Instagram, even Facebook are in terms of usage and the ability to expand into new products and all of that. So I think that's one thing. I think other trends, we're seeing that the gap between kind of advertising and trends and commerce is getting shorter and shorter.
Mm.
So you guys know this experience of like clicking on an Instagram ad. That used to be like a pretty terrible experience where you click on an Instagram ad, a shitty version of a browser would pop up, like a Instagram native version of Safari browser would pop up within the app. It would take 15 seconds to load.
Yep.
Then you get some like kind of under optimized UI on the landing page. And then you'd have to go through the whole process on like throughout the Shopify experience. And it was just like, why is Meta driving us to this landing page that's not optimized for Meta? And why is it taking like 3 minutes to check out here? Why does everything seem like it's running on like 2008 internet speed?
Yeah.
That gap is just closing. We're seeing it with TikTok
Yeah.
shops where you can just immediately transact on shops. You're seeing it with Meta shops now. And so I think you'll just see more and more commerce happening on the platforms where traditionally they were just content or advertising platforms. And then I in that same vein, I think like influencers are starting to become uh, like commerce will be done directly from influencer content as well, where someone, to use Eric for example, who works with a bunch of brands, you should be able to look at Eric's content and click, like, basically click on the content and see what the product is and transact directly from that video. And Eric should be able to extract more value from that interaction than traditionally an affiliate or influencer like Eric has. So those are three trends. Like I think the main platforms are going to get bigger. The gap between advertising and commerce is only going to get smaller, and that influencers are going to take a larger percentage of the value in transactions.
It's interesting too. I feel like I'm not sure if influencers would like this, but it would be really cool if there was like a storefront for influencers. So if you go on Eric's page, you could just like see all the products that I mean you kind of can, but just see in more of like a easy fashion, like the products that he's promoting.
Yeah, there's definitely some people starting to do that. I haven't seen it work really well or scale yet, but it would make sense, right? Like I should be able to go to his page and shop directly from his page the products that he's merchandising for his collection.
Yeah, it's interesting to your point on the big platforms getting bigger. I can't remember the last time I really just like went into a search bar and just like went like www.create.com.
Yeah.
It's always like through an ad or like
Yeah.
through one of these social media channels where I go to the site. So I think it's a trend worth paying attention to.
Yeah, and like I don't know if this is super relevant, but all of those big ad companies are now also the leaders in AI. And so they're able to recycle their profits from Google ads or Facebook ads into $10 billion expenditures on CapEx needed to become best in class, have best in class AI. And that only feeds back into the ad product. So it's just like a very, I'm not, saying anything novel here, that Google and Meta have like these amazing business models that are virtuous and all that. So, or not virtuous, perhaps, but are virtuously cycling into each other.
Right.
But yeah,
It's also interesting to see. I feel like this has been a bigger trend in the last few months. I see all these clips of founders going on big podcasts.
yeah,
And there will be a paid ad of the founder talking about
Yeah.
this specific product, why they started it, why they like it. And I'm viewing it and I'm like, I know this is an ad, but it just feels like this very organic piece of content. And it makes me want to buy the product. And I'm aware of it and I still feel that feeling. So I feel like that's another trend, to your point, that we're just going to continue to see grow more and more, where founders will probably be the faces of the brand even more. They'll organically tell their story, and that'll just turn into a really easy piece of content that they can run dollars behind too.
That's why I'm here today.
That's literally why you're here.
No,
why
I'm
else?
kidding.
Why else would you be on Mafia?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I think that's true, and I think that's certainly been the case the last year or so. Brands have caught on to the podcast style of ad starting to convert really well. I think when every brand starts to do it,
Yeah.
it'll lose a little bit of
Totally
its
did.
luster. Like we filmed fake podcast clips and put it on ads, and like the more people that do that, the shittier the experience is going to be, and
Yeah.
people will be like, "Wait, this is clickbait." Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna. But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
The worst
certainly.
is when you see the ones of like the fake Rogan setup with like the red curtain in the
Yeah.
background. Like this guy was not on Rogan.
Or like the AI generated Rogan voice on some of
Oh.
these ads.
really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
sucks.